So you are listening to Backlash here on Shark Nation Radio with me, Joanne McLaughlin, and Mike McLaughlin. Let me now bring back Steve Feldman from the Greater Philadelphia chapter of the Zionist Organization of America, the national chapter of which you can find at ZOA.org. We're going to talk about the big gala that they had, which we've mentioned a few times on the show. My plans to go to it fell through, but we won't talk about that yet. That was on Sunday night, 120th anniversary. But I want to let Steve share a more personal story, which is pretty cool. And I think you two who don't know about this will be impressed. Just activism sometimes work more, when you do go a little bit beyond just posting something on Facebook or Twitter. Sometimes people still take initiative and get actual results. With that in mind, Steve, thank you for joining Backlash today.
Hi, Adam. Thank you for having me back on. It's a privilege and a pleasure.
Okay. So tell us what happened over the last few days, which is kind of an inspiring story.
Well, thank you. I first, with your indulgence, just want to say I'm sorry you were not able to be at the National ZOA dinner. It was really an amazing event, which I certainly want to spend a minute or two talking about after. But
yeah,
I am an activist, and I'm not just an armchair. I'm not an armchair activist.
Well, we know that, yeah.
In real old style activism, and
you did a lot with the JDL way back, right? With Mayor Rabbi Kahana?
No.
Oh.
I mean, I on a couple of occasions, really as a teenager, was outside synagogues making sure that people were not vandalizing synagogues and things like that. So, I don't want to take credit for things that I didn't do. I had the privilege of interviewing Rabbi Kahana, blessed memory, a few times when I was a reporter, and was honored to be in the audience to hear him give talks. But no, I don't want to exaggerate.
Okay. I just didn't know. You never exaggerated it to me, and I want to make sure people know I said JDL, as in Jewish Defense League, not the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, because I know a lot of people, like I do, have opinions on that one, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So tell us what happened.
I'm not here to talk about that. So there is a Christian pastor who used to be a Philadelphia pastor. I believe he has a pulpit in the New York area now. And he really is a human rights activist in the real definition of the word, not a political human rights activist or agenda-driven, other than faith-driven, really. And he's a good guy. He's pro-Israel. So he posted a message that he was on his, and I don't want to mention his name right now because he's still not out of the woods. He was on his way to Iraq, I think it's safe to say Iraq, to help persecuted Christians. He was passing through another country to get there, a country that's pretty hostile, more so lately. He was detained.
I'll give a hint. Thanksgiving is coming up in a few weeks. Okay, go on. We'll leave it at that. Ain't cool to be no jive, blank, this close to Thanksgiving.
He was detained at the airport. His passport was taken. And he just put out a message to his friends and followers asking for prayers. Very admirable, especially for clergymen. And there's obviously, I'm a proponent of prayer, but sometimes you have to go a step further. And so it was 6:30 in the morning, and I picked up the phone. First of all, I said, "This is terrible. This is not good." Reached out to the State Department. There was nobody there early. Long story short, after a bunch of calls and pleading with people like this guy really needs help, it's not that he went out of country and left his toothbrush at home. This is like a big deal. I was put in touch with somebody at the U.S. Embassy in that country who put me in touch with somebody at the consulate close to where this gentleman was being held. Long story short, a bunch of work went on behind the scenes, and he was released later yesterday evening. And I'm not looking to pat myself on the back, but I do want to say that it's important that people get active and do things, and you can't just share something, and you can't just like something, and you can't just retweet something. Sometimes you got to pick up a phone and call, and not just one call, but pester and bug and nudge and plead and maybe you end up saving a guy's life. I don't know that his life was in danger necessarily, but it was not good. And so just people have to be advocates today. The other side, the side that I would say represents evil, is very active and very aggressive.
Oh yeah.
And they don't sit on their couch and push a button. They're out there. They're in the streets. They're on the phone. They're inundating people. And if we're going to sit back, the side that is for good and what's right is going to sit back and think that we're going to win by pushing a button, just pushing a button, to click like or something, we're sadly mistaken. And we see this, we should be seeing the lessons of this every day. And good people have to stand up to evil. Or evil, paraphrase, evil's going to win.
Yep. And it seems like it might go even further today because so many people are just used to now, have gotten the habit of just putting something on Twitter or Facebook that when, I guess, a real call or a real person or a real interaction just might go a little further than it might have 15 years ago. And it reminds me of the Keurig. Did you hear about what happened with Keurig? I think I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, they found an excuse to just, it probably was one person in the marketing department doing it on a Sunday where they weren't probably at work, or maybe it was on Saturday, I don't remember, or the advertising department. And, then real activism, I guess a little bit more than just the typical activism, and Keurig is now facing the consequences of it, one of which is that people just are evaluating the whole concept of Keurig coffee in a non-political sense, when they wouldn't have asked questions before. So, you as an activist must be amused by that kind of thing, at least.
Yeah, I am. I mean, look, I can guarantee you that the State Department was unaware of this guy's plight. And because they were unaware, there was no way for them to do their jobs and help this guy. And look, I didn't personally save his life or get him out of the danger he was in. People on the ground, working for the State Department did. But it's the activist who maybe is not the person that that throws the life preserver into the pool to save the person who's drowning. But maybe the activist finds the lifeguard to do that, and so that's what we have to do is be actively active.
Yeah. One other question: did you identify yourself? I'm curious because they might have written off only the Christians in his denomination are going to carry. Did you let you're Jewish, so that clearly it was someone not of his background who was concerned about him? Did you let them know that?
No, I didn't let them know that, but I did let them know that this was a man of faith, clergyman who was being held. He was not a political activist. I wanted to make that. That's what I wanted to make clear, that he was not in that country making political trouble. He was there on a religious mission, and not even in that country. He was just passing through that country to get to where he needed to go. I thought that was important, but the fact that I was Jewish helping a Christian, I don't know that was relevant. It's
But often, if it extends beyond one's immediate neighborhood, I guess you could say. Okay, ZOA. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the dinner, which I missed. Let's just say I was bringing a celebrity who's not that reliable there, and there's some upsides and opportunities that come from his lack of reliability, but there are some occasional risks involved too. So I ended up not going because I was part of the package. But it's all good. I got a better night of sleep than I otherwise would have, and I'm on a diet anyway, and something tells me that the food was really good there, and I probably saved about 4 pounds.
Very good and abundant from all the reports. I was not able to partake in a lot of eating, but I understand for everybody it was abundant and good, and quite a variety of food. So you missed out on that too. But what you really missed out on, and what a lot of people missed out on, I'm going to take for granted that all of your listeners love America. I'm going to hope that all of them are pro-Israel and support Israel. And this was a night when about 1,000 people from all walks of life, all across the age spectrum, Republicans and Democrats, you name it. You name the groups and the little segments that we break ourselves into. They were there. There was something for everybody, but everybody was 100% pro-America and pro-Israel. wonderful the electricity in the air, the spirit, that for a few hours we were all immersed in this milieu of the spirit of activism, the spirit of patriotism, and the spirit of Zionism. And you had Alan Dershowitz, and on the left you had former Senator Joe Lieberman, center left. You had Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas, conservative. You had Steve Bannon, one would say an arch conservative. You really had people in the center and people all across the spectrum who were up there speaking in favor and support of America and Israel. And what a wonderful evening of brotherhood, if you will, Jews and Christians. I mean, you name it. We were all unified, and it was not unity for just a few hours. We were unified before. We're unified after. We're going to be doing work to help America, to help Israel. And but it's nice to be together for a few hours in a room with more than 1,000 people to celebrate our country, to celebrate our ally Israel, and to celebrate the work that we all do. So it was just a wonderful, upbeat evening where we so that's
Sure.
it in a nutshell.
And Steve, any specific lines that were said or tidbits from one of the speeches just sticking with you today, 2 days later?
There was not really one overarching line, except really to reinforce what we were talking about a few minutes ago, which is the need to be an active participant in these causes. Our enemies are many, and they're varied, and they're aggressive, and the writing on the wall is clear. We see the trends, we see what's going on, and if somebody doesn't really do something now in terms of being active, it might be too late. So that was the message that I really took away, that again, Jews and Christians and people from the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and even people who don't necessarily have a party affiliation have to work together to preserve our nation and to help our ally Israel.
Great. Thank you for coming on today, Steve. And wait. Remind people once again the best way to follow you and to follow ZOA.
Well, thanks. Our national ZOA website is ZOA.org. In Philadelphia, it's Philly, PHILLY.ZOA.org. You can find me on Facebook. I am the Steve Feldman who has an amazing photo of a sunrise as my profile picture. And if you try to friend me and we have some things in common, I will gladly accept. So,
all right.
thanks, Adam.
Thank you for coming on today.